Bienvenidos amigas y amigos. It's your boy Darzus and my apologies for being late. We're talking chapter 192 today because I was sick this weekend. Nonetheless, before we dive straight into that, leave a comment in the comments section below for me if you can. Would you like me to cover each week's leaks before the chapter actually comes out? I won't be spoiling anything with the thumbnails and or the titles. However, would you like me to talk about those events before the actual chapter video comes out on Sundays? Just let me know. Our boy Yoshi is really cooking with the motifs this arc. Top Bull Sparks, the top dog, the big man on the block. You know who he thinks he is, but he may not be that guy. Just like Mihawk had to show Zoro, the delinquent edgy tot needs to be shown by Fuko that he's just the biggest frog in a barrel. Similar to the first time Musashi met Seijiro Yoshioka in Vagabond. All that bloodlust and ferocity seems useful when you're fighting the weak. But what happens when you pick on somebody your own size? Top is going to have to come to terms with these ideas during this arc because just like Musashi in Vagabond, being outcasted from society does not mean you get to act like an edgy, stupid delinquent. Nonetheless, the hunter shall become the hunted, and not only by Fuko this time, because as we see at the beginning of the chapter, beast and language are on the way. And they will certainly be making an introduction next chapter because as I predicted, it's time for Beast to go hunting. But to not fully skip past the beginning of the chapter, the conversation between Fuko and young Julia Justicia was absolutely heartbreaking. To not expound upon a rather surface level interaction too much, it's just wild to see that Fuko, still with 200 plus years under her belt, has not forgiven herself for the tragedy which befell her and her parents whenever her ability manifested. It's just really messed up to think about the fact that she still lives on with this sort of trauma in her mind, thinking that she is the reason for that entire thing. As our girl Julia Justicia says to her, "It's not your fault." I'm not a big fan of Julia. But one thing that really caught my eye in this conversation was Fuko claiming to understand the reason people are chosen to bear negation abilities. Obviously we get cut off right before Fuko tells us her findings, but this topic is part of one of my favorite mysteries within Undead Unluck, and that is just the question, why? Why did the gods set up this game? Why do Luna and Sun do what they do? Why did the Sun create Umas and Luna the Negators? And why are the chosen ones fated to fight this eons-long battle in order to decide some victor? I think I got a video somewhere up on the channel talking about my thoughts about those exact ideas. However, I'm glad to know our boy Yoshi is not asleep behind the wheel and he's still thinking about the more grand topics within Undead Unluck, because personally, right now, all that's within my brain is the best couple getting reunited. Our girl Haruka and Top. So the most important thing we learned with the introduction to this updated Top and Haruka is that they're both of age now.
What do you mean by that?
They're both teenagers, rather old, I think probably like 17 to 19 between both of them. And like, yeah, Haruka can beat the allegations, Yoshifumi can beat the allegations. Like, y'all, this is something we can all celebrate and rejoice in. The reworks of both of these characters in terms of both their design and personalities have been handled extremely well. However, I think all of us can agree on the fact that one of them is a little bit better to see than the other. Haruka has grown out of her shell quite literally, I guess, because she's not clamored up in this armor, she's not shy, she's a loud-spoken woman, she seems to be confident in the person she's growing to be as well, she's still brolic as shit. Like, an amazing thing to see that this woman, who you can't say what sort of mental state she was in beforehand, she was just a very shy person, but that sort of reservedness that she had always held very much so on a surface level is kind of gone. I love to see that, you know, she's came out of that shell. But the thing we hate to see the most, a young, impressionable mind, lost to society, thrown to the wayside, indulging in delinquent activities. Top Bull Sparks, what happened to you? We lost that pure, innocent Haitian, bro, asked Top, and we came back with an Amazon Porsche pirate, but I think it really makes sense when you look at the changes in his backstory between last loop and this one. There's been a change of Top's negation restriction. Previously, he had to break a piece of himself in order to stop running from being unstoppable. However, now, as we saw in chapter 192, Top has to break something else in order for him to stop moving. And I think this new restriction really showcases his frustrations with his current situation. Yoshifumi's done a really good job of translating that whole idea of Top's frustrations with his current living situation, moving on to the next loop. Top was always frustrated about the situation he and his mom lived with him. In the previous loop due to their financial situation, and in this loop due to the pseudo-exile they're facing due to the contagious disease she has. So as I sort of interpret it, rather than having to break his own bones because he hindered himself by slowing down in that race, he breaks other things because he has to showcase that unstoppable frustration towards the outside world. The current Top has been pushed away from society due to his mother's illness, and he can't run track anymore due to his negation ability. He genuinely feels like he's been stripped of every good thing to him. And with all of these piling issues and insecurities, Top is just a freaking mess. He's resorted to stealing from society because in every single way, he feels alienated. It's a story which is very similar to our boy Void Volks, honestly, if you really look at it. He just felt completely avoided by everybody, and the only way he could try to communicate was through robbing people, through breaking things. So I think this new negation ability, the new restriction at least, really makes a lot of sense, and it fits the build, the mold of this Goku Super Saiyan 3 ass Top. And what's truly vexing about the traumas that Top is dealing with is he feels like the only way he can get out these pent-up frustrations is breaking things, running around, kicking shit, using his sword in a world where he can freely swing it around. I gotta catch myself. Nah, but this chapter really felt like Takezo, the young Miyamoto Musashi in Vagabond. If you've never read Vagabond, please go read it. Anyway, it's really arguably number 1 or 2 when you're talking the best mangakas of all time, and Vagabond's arguably the number 1 story. And I really see the influence from the young Takezo story, the feeling of a kid who's been alienated from society due to being a little bit different than everybody, having a family, a parent who is a little bit different than everybody else. And yeah, I'm not going to expound upon that anymore, but if you haven't read Vagabond, please stop reading Undead Unluck and go read Vagabond. Or keep reading Undead Unluck and read Vagabond. Come on, baby. But as our boy Top is out in the only world he can freely live within, the only world he can swing his feet around, his sword around in, and truly feel like he's able to live not alone, he gets met with Takuan. He gets met with Seijuro, an immovable object which will make him face his own insecurities and come to terms with his true reality. And as we see at the beginning of this bout, his old tricks won't work. He is facing somebody who is of a different echelon than a young Top Bull Sparks, and Fuko welcomes him in. She takes a step into the world of the beast because that is what any good teacher does. She meets you where you're at and brings you to a better location. Fuko Izumo, the goddamn goat. I cannot wait for next chapter. I already kind of know what's going to happen, so I'm not going to speculate upon what's going to occur exactly in next chapter. However, what I will speculate upon, and I would love to hear y'all's opinions on this, is Top's mom. So Top's mom, a very beautiful, amazing woman who always put on for the boy Top. She seemed like a very strong woman last loop and this loop. The way that she's able to, now still be jovial and still stand for her own values and morals, even whenever she's bedridden with this contagious illness. And last loop, being in a distraught situation as a single parent, financially unstable, still putting on for your boy Top Bull Sparks and putting him in situations which he couldn't afford on his own. Can't ask for a better parent. Do you think Nico or Dr. Rip are going to save her? I guess that's a bad way to put it. I think that is already set in stone. If we are going to go help out Engine's mom, or at least make her happy, we're definitely going to try to save Top's mom. However, whether or not we save that illness doesn't matter. I think it's going to happen. Do we pick her up and bring her to the Union, though? Do we, since Top is a bit of a younger person, in a very similar situation to Shikara, have his parents come along with him? Because I think that would be super cool in terms of, Fuko trying to completely avert tragedies. Having the parents come along, because that's probably got to be a very tough thing to deal with, having your mom know that you're off literally fighting God and she's alone, healthy or not, in Brazil, just chilling out in a forest. I don't know. You tell me. But I'm going to edit this. So, I'll see you later.